Hello everyone, I'm Swank. I live in Boulder, Colorado. For those of you who don't know Boulder very well, it's a town located right at the foothills of the Rocky Mountains, about 100,000 people, and it is an excellent place to come visit in Boulder. So today I'll be talking about the Colorado wildfires that happened this summer, and largely the wildfires that happen across the West. These are a symptom of the drought that we saw across all parts of the U.S., and very unfortunate for the folks that live in high timber areas. We saw a record number of wildfires out in Colorado this year. So at one point in Colorado, we had 10 major fires burning, and these are not just small wildfires. These are significant, out of control, raging wildfires. And Boulder is located just to the west of that Denver sign. So we were getting smoke from a lot of different wildfires. And what this map doesn't show is that in addition to these 10, there are wildfires burning all over in states surrounding us. So when the wind shifted, we get smoke from wildfires in Wyoming or from Arizona. So it got to be pretty awful in terms of the smoke we saw in Boulder. Sometimes it would just sit in town. We were in a bit of a valley, and it'd just be smoky all day. Or sometimes the most remarkable thing was it'd be clear in the morning, and then there'd just be this wall of smoke that would come in. Fortunately, Boulder was spared from any wildfires. We had a bit of a scare at one point, but we fared much, much better, and fortunately very safe. Unfortunately, Colorado Springs was not so lucky. So there were about 35,000 people that ended up having to evacuate out of Colorado Springs from the High Park fire this summer. And the photos of it sort of marching down the mountain into the town were just wild. I remember seeing, looking at the news every day, watching these the fire come in. But it hit the town. Destroyed in Colorado Springs, around 350 homes were destroyed. Another fire hit about 250 homes in Fort Collins. So that's what it looks like when wildfire comes to town. Not a pleasant experience whatsoever. I think the quote from the Colorado Springs fire lieutenant is the closest thing to war without getting shot. Is a pretty good description of what exactly that experience was like. And also I find Governor Hickenlooper's quote to be apt as well, that this is as serious as it gets. The summer was as serious as it gets, hopefully, in terms of natural disasters caused from climate change. But being a personal witness to them, it really hit home for me in a way that hadn't been made personal before. Before these fires, climate change had been this abstract issue that I had worked on. I was at COP 13 in Bali in 2007. And I was very passionate about it, but I didn't have the personal connection to it until these unfortunate incidents happened. So the cost of the wildfires just in Colorado, they evacuated, like I said earlier, about 35,000 people were evacuated from their homes. We lost about 600 homes across Colorado for the wildfires, with upwards of $450 million in insured losses, and about $50 million in the cost just to fight the wildfire. At one point we had, I believe, about half of the wildfire fighting resources in the U.S. In the state of Colorado, as well as Canada was sending down assistance to help fight the wildfires. It was remarkable and scary that they've been working to fight the Hyde Park fire for several days, weeks, and it was 5% contained. And they had massive resources being devoted to this, but they just couldn't keep up with it. So in the last 15 years, there's been a 5-fold increase in areas burned across the West. Wildfire activity picked up in the 1980s, and the 6 worst years happened since 2000. As with any weather-related phenomena, it's very difficult to draw a clear and undeniable link to climate change. However, the increase in fires was driven by some characteristics that were very clearly related to the effects of climate change. So for one, you've got longer fire seasons, and that's an earlier spring, a warmer spring, and a drier spring. That allows for, let's see here. So currently snowpack is melting 1 to 4 weeks earlier than it has historically, about 50 years ago. The average is now 1 to 4 weeks higher. You also have drier conditions. As temperatures are projected to rise to 4 degrees at the moment, precipitation is expected to decline by 15%. Colorado doesn't have a whole lot of precipitation to begin with. In the mountains, sure, it gets a ton of snow, and that's great for skiing. But down on the flat, the mountains sort of steal all our snow and all our rain. And we don't actually get a lot. That's partly what makes Boulder kind of a great place, is because we have over 300 days of sunshine a year. So that's really nice for getting outside, but not so nice for wildfires. And then we also have more fuel for wildfires. And that is caused by a couple of factors. Largely, the pine beetles, with a warmer climate, are able to spread to higher areas and to larger areas, and where historically the cold snap and cold temperatures have killed off the pine beetles, or at least kept them dormant longer. The warming temperatures are allowing them to be more active, and that is killing off massive swaths of forest, which is a whole other problem unto its own, but it's also causing an increase in fires. And finally, increasing lightning with increasing frequency of storms and rain that doesn't touch the ground. So this was taken recently, and this is the conditions for droughts. It looks like, unless we get some big changes in weather going into next year, we're going to have similar conditions next year, which is not something that we're looking forward to. And obviously it's not something we can ignore. So Boulder is a little bit unique. They've recognized what climate change means, perhaps before some other communities. So they actually adopted the Kyoto Protocols in 2002, and created a carbon action plan to reduce their emissions in 2006. In 2008, emissions for the city of Boulder peaked. And now we have a variety of initiatives going forward, working with energy efficiency, providing loans. We also have a program to encourage businesses to pledge to reduce their emissions, and we're looking into municipalizing our own power, so we'll be able to generate more renewable energy for the city of Boulder. And how am I personally responding? I'm involved with Sustain Us, this great organization that brings young folks here to the COPs to represent the voice of American youth. I work for Ego Car Share. It's a car sharing company that is basically designed to replace people's personal cars. So you have the convenience of having a car without actually owning it. And studies show that for every car share car that's out on the street, that takes about 9 to 13 cars off the road through people who either sell their cars or avoid buying one. And I also work for Natural Capitalism Solutions. It's a business sustainability consulting firm. All told, our clients account for 3% of U.S. GDP, and we've helped them save $4 million over the last 3 years through reducing their energy use and other sustainability measures.